The Raptors head into Orlando and walk away with a 102-89 victory over the Orlando Magic. And it wasn't about the offense. Their defense got it done. Welcome to Raptors Night Cap. I'm Sherman Hamilton, filling in for Randy Urban. Pleased to be joined by Jack Armstrong, Amy Audibert, and Paul Jones. All right, Jack, let's get right into it. I mean, this was a game where, the Raptors really struggled on so many levels from an offensive end, which wasn't what we're used to seeing, but they got the W. That's 5 wins in a row. And what does that say about them moving towards the playoffs as they continue to try to better their position before the playoffs start?
Well, sure. As you know, I think the biggest thing is, your offense some nights isn't going to be there. And particularly on the road, how does your defense travel? Is that your foundation? Is that the element of your team that you get your mojo from? Does it create opportunities for your offense? I thought they did a great job tonight creating opportunities from their defense, points off turnovers, opportunities in transition, young, inexperienced Orlando team, and you should get the better of them. And they did. The Toronto did a great job in that category of just being active in the passing lanes, quick hands, good energy level, talking, communication, help, rotations, all the stuff that you like to see. And because offensively, you're going to have nights where you don't shoot it well. Maybe you don't have the same flow. Certain guys are having an off night. But to me, this was a really good road win. And look, the Raptors have struggled against some teams that are way under 500. We saw them lose to Orlando and Toronto just a few weeks ago. So I'll take any win you can get against a team like this. And I thought they built the lead, played with the lead, and cruised. Yeah, Orlando made a push late, but come on, let's be real. I mean, I think they got the job done.
Yeah, and before the game, Jack, I called this the business trip. They got to go in there, be very professional, and get the W, and they did that. And Amy, when you talk about the Raptors, and Jack talked about it a little bit in terms of their defense and the points off turnovers, 21 turnovers forced, 32 points off those turnovers. That's just building on one of their strengths, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think at this point in the season, with 5 regular seasons, you know who you are. You got to know who you are right now. But what was more impressive to me was 14 of those points were in that first quarter. And I don't like the word trap game, but this was that, right? A team that doesn't have a great record when you're rolling. Kyle is coming on. And if you turned on Twitter today, everyone knows it. It's Friday. And this would have been that game that you thought maybe could have gotten a little bit. I know Orlando's given Toronto some issues this season, but there's so many other things happening. And they came out so strong, 14 points off turnovers in that first quarter. And I just thought they did a great job establishing themselves. And it comes off of different hands, different lineups. And I think that's fun basketball, right? When everyone's kind of contributing and then you're pushing out. And they also did a great job in the fast break as well. Kind of go hand in hand. By the way, Randy's job is totally at risk right now. I just want to make everyone aware of that. Okay.
No, you just have to tell him, Amy, just him. But you mentioned about their active hands, Amy, and you're right. They were incredible in terms of creating turnovers and deflecting passes and just being a nuisance. And shout out to Fred VanVleet for the job he's done over the last 2 games. He's got 10 turnovers combined. So very active, and we're not even talking about deflections. But Jonesy, on top of that, we know that turnovers doesn't necessarily speak to defense in its totality. But the Raptors holding Orlando to under 100 points, 89 points. And I know you'll have a stat for this. I think it's like 18-3 when they hold opponents to under 100 points. But that defense is a collective effort, and it's not just smoke and mirrors trying to steal the basketball.
No, to Jack's point, it's the stuff that has to travel. And, guys will be making plays in the playoffs. And if you're the Raptors, you want to take people out of their comfort zone. You want to create those turnovers. And let's face it, most of the time when you're creating turnovers and they're live ball turnovers, you saw what the Raptors got at the other end. They're running out. It's a 3-on-1. It's a 4-on-1. You're getting dunked. So, that's something that I think really has to be a constant. And there's a lot of talk now about, Toronto and seeding and, do you rest guys? I think you try to play as well as you can going into the playoffs. Like, this was a game that had Orlando not made a bit of a run in the fourth quarter, the perfect kind of game where your guys could play enough, work on their stuff, especially the defensive end, and then have a big enough lead that Nick could put some other people in and you could rest some of the guys. Unfortunately, he had to bring some of the starters back, but I just thought their defense did a nice job again. They got more field goal attempts than the other team. Both you and Amy talked about points off turnovers, and Orlando just didn't seem to catch on. How many times did the Raptors come from behind a player, knock it away, strip a guy in the lane, contest a shot, get a rebound, and away you go? So I thought their defense was really active and really good tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jack, I touched on Fred VanVleet a little bit in terms of, his steals in the game, but he had 19, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, a couple blocks. But more importantly, I feel like seeing him out there and moving the way he's moving after him being in and out of the lineup for such a long time, that to me is more of a confidence builder than when you look at that stat line.
Sure, Sherman, you're totally right. I mean, you look at him the last 2 games against Minnesota and tonight against Orlando, his energy, activity, disruptive nature, defensively, his active hands, active feet, the strong hands, steals, deflections, making it just absolutely difficult for an offense to function is a big deal. And to me, I think when you look at Fred VanVleet, he's a guy that not only on the ball but off the ball just impacts winning defensively. And we know he can do offensively in terms of his playmaking, his shot making, all that. But to me, when I look at him defensively, I still to this point don't think he gets enough credit for just how smart he is and how dependable he is and how on point and on task he is in terms of where he's supposed to be and the timing of his doubles and the timing of his swipes. He's really, really good. And so to see him the last 2 games, because as we know, even on Monday night against Boston, he was kind of fighting himself a little bit. I'm looking at him going, this doesn't look like the same guy. But the last 2 games, he looks like he's still fighting himself a little bit, but he's doing some really cool things that are impacting winning. And you hope that little by little he gets better because they're going to need him at close to 100%. And as we all know, no one's ever 100% this time of year. But if you can get him close, that would be big.
Yeah, and to your point, Jack, a leader knows when it's time to push his team. Third quarter, 13 of his 19 points came in that third quarter where they extended that lead and really set the tone up for the rest of the game. But Amy, another guy who I felt, this guy, for a 20-year-old, he just continues to amaze me in terms of his consistency. Had his season averages basically at halftime, but, in the postgame, he said he's a winner. When you look at Scotty and what he's been able to do and how much he's counted on from this team to be a productive piece consistently, you don't throw that responsibility on a lot of 20-year-olds in a winning situation.
Absolutely not. And that's why he is, we're going to probably be talking about this a lot the next week, probably a front runner, right, for the Rookie of the Year award. He has to be because he's impacted winning with numbers. But how about that when he said, I did ask him what he wants his rookie campaign to mean to people. I'm a winner, not I can score, I can rebound, I can help everybody. Bottom line, I help win games. That's like the extra level on top of all of that stuff. And he's doing it too. It's one thing to say it, but he's backing it up out there. When you look at today, and I thought his offensive rebounding effort in that first quarter, he ended up with 5 on the game, but he does that all the time, right? He attacks the glass hard early on, and I think he wears defenses out early that way because when you're guarding a guy that size that has that much energy, because that's the one thing I think that Scotty really identified himself as to start the season is he goes and goes and goes, and he's a load to handle. And at this point in the season to still be bringing that again early in those games where you just wonder how they're going to come out. That's impressive. That's stuff that doesn't necessarily show up on the box score, but he has a way of inserting his energy when he doesn't even touch the ball in games. And come on, just give him it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's relentless. Scotty Barnes has no back down in him, and I absolutely love it. Now, Jonesy, in this game, we saw Nick Nurse go to a big lineup. Pascal Siakam, Thaddeus Young, Khem Birch, Precious Achua, and OG Anunoby. We know Nick is a mad scientist when it comes to this kind of stuff. He's willing to try anything, and that's what we all appreciate about him. Yeah. You're just kind of throwing something out there to see what was happening, and down the road, he might have that in his back pocket for the playoffs, maybe?
He always does that, Sherm. He, like you said, the mad scientist. Let me add a little of this to the bottle, a little of that. Oh, I got something that works. Write it down, put it off to the side. And, there was a post on social media at some point from NBA, I think it was from NBA Canada, where they asked Thad Young what he liked about the Raptors. And he kind of joked and he said, we're all 6'8". And I mean, the truth in that is when you've got that big lineup out there and every guy is capable of guarding on the perimeter, it makes you a little bit more aggressive with your own guy, a little bit more aware of help. I mean, we always see OG in the passing lanes, and it's switch proof. No matter what the opponent does, there's no mismatch because they end up with a guy who's 6'8", who can move his feet and guard on the perimeter. And I like when Nick does that, particularly when he's got Scotty and Pascal on the floor as playmakers, point forwards, point centers, whatever you want to call them. And the offense doesn't stop, yet on the defensive end, there are no, and I don't, this is not to take away from Fred or Gary or anybody else, but if you think you're going to have a mismatch with a bigger guy on you, you're sadly mistaken. And I think Nick has experimented with a bunch of those long lineups, Sherm. Sometimes it's Boucher in there. Sometimes it's Barnes, Birch, Achua, Young, Siakam. There's like 6-7 guys he can go to, and it just makes them tough on the defensive end.
Yeah, no question about it. That length comes into play, and the Raptors utilizing that. Amy, quickly with you, Franz Wagner goes down in the early parts of the game, and you look at Orlando; they're a team going in a different direction for this season, but they are going to miss him. And these games might not count for playoffs, but they count for important reps for guys like him. How much are they going to miss this young man? He's been playing well all season long.
Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, it's not about trying to chase a record here. It's just getting more experience, and especially because there are a lot of teams that are still fighting for playoffs. So Orlando's probably not taking too many teams that aren't coming in with attack mentality and ready to win a ball game. So you certainly want your younger guys out there in those moments. And he only played 20 seconds today, got caught up under Scotty, of course, right around the glass. Surprise, surprise. But I mean, his future is so bright too. His numbers are, in terms of I think he's one of 3 players in the entire NBA, rookies, everyone that started every single game this season. He's played and started in every single game. So he's got a great motor for his size. They reported an ankle sprain. You hope it's nothing more than that, and he can get out as soon as possible, because when you look at the Orlando team, they'll have another pick now. They've got some great young players, and he's certainly one of them. On that note, you are a great host, Sherm. I have to go catch a flight. I haven't been home in 2 weeks, so I gotta go. I can't miss this one. But yeah, Randy, you're in trouble, man. He's gonna be pulling it up, watching in a couple of minutes, anyways.
Oh yeah, he's got issues. We know that. Thanks, Amy. Get home safely.
Thanks, guys.
We understand.
Fun.
We get it.
See you, Amy.
Mixing things up. Appreciate it. All right, Jacko. Obviously, Sunday, it's a big game. In terms of an emotional gratitude, kind of just the importance of this franchise and what Kyle Lowry means to this franchise and has meant to this franchise. What are your feelings when you look forward to that game on Sunday?
Well, I look forward to it because I'm sitting with 2 guys like you, Sherman and Jonesy, that are true blue basketball guys that love the game, that have a love affair with the orange ball, that you love everything about what the game is, and you love everything about what the game has done for you. And Kyle represents that. Kyle is a guy that loves the game of basketball. Input equals output, and he's put a lot into it in terms of his effort as a player and his talents, and it's all worked out. And he's also put it into it from an emotional relationship perspective in terms of his teammates, his coaches, his, everyone around him that he's connected with. So, he's at the latter stages of his career. He's still a very, very good player. He still has a few good years left in him. And, but the thing I like to look at is I look at it when I look forward to Sunday night. I look at it as a celebration of someone who's done it right and who's really represented and presented and represented the game right. And I think to me, that's what it's about. We're in an era of sizzle and style and all this nonsense. And Kyle's about substance. Kyle's about hard work and grittiness and toughness and love of the game and love of competition, the brotherhood of his teammates and the brotherhood of what he does and the spirit of it. And to me, I like that. I respect that. So I'm really excited for him to come back Sunday. And I'm just going to sit back. I don't have the game on TSN on Sunday, but I'll be in the building. And I just look forward to just standing there as a observer and taking it all in and watching a guy that deserves and has earned a lot of respect and a lot of love, get it rightly so. So it'll be nice. And it'll be one of the good guys getting it.
Jonesy, your thoughts on Kyle coming back to town?
Yeah, we had Randy Foy, one of his former teammates, on the radio, and there's prop bets for the Final Four this week. Will Mike Krzyzewski cry, yes or no? And I asked Randy Foy, I said, are we going to see tears from Kyle Lowry, yes or no? And he said, yeah, we probably will. And Sherm, Jack, we all know Kyle. He's the kind of guy that he puts everything into it. He puts his heart and soul into it. And Toronto, as much as they love their stars, they love those guys that roll up their sleeves and will get after it. And when Kyle does that and he feels that from the crowd, he's going to give you even more. And I think he gave everything to Toronto. The fans loved it. So I'm just looking forward to the celebration. I really am. And, he left a legacy here. He was part of the foundation and building the culture of playing hard with winning attached to it. He left it behind, the championship year and the year after. And then he left it, as he always talked about, for Fred, his little brother, for Pascal, for OG, for all the other guys to see. We are Toronto, and this is what we do. And he's gone to Miami, where they're about the same thing. So I'm really looking forward to the game, but I'm looking forward to people saying to Kyle, hey, man, thanks for what you did. Thanks for your effort. It's not always about the winning and losing. You did bring us a title, but we appreciated the fact that you laced them up every night and you did everything possible to get a W every night. And it didn't matter if it was getting on refs, pushing big guys, taking charges, scoring points, almost coming to blows. Hey, man, whatever it takes. Don't tell me how rough the water is. Bring the ship in. And Kyle was about getting the ship in every night.
Yeah, he was. And I echo the sentiments that both you guys have just spoken to. But, I also add to it, we watched him grow up from a young man into a man. We saw him on the court become a leader. We saw him on the court become that guy for this franchise. Off the court, we saw him raise a family here in Toronto. Also, when you think about Kyle, his involvement in the community, his ability to touch people in the community, he was always involved in those things. And at the end of the day, Kyle was the ultimate ride or die guy. He's with you, and he's going to do whatever he can. And he loved this city, and he did everything he could to bring a championship to this city. So yes, there are going to be tears, but this is going to be the biggest love fest I think Scotiabank Arena has ever seen based on Kyle coming back, and it'll be well-deserved. And let's not talk too much about this because we're going to have to talk about it again on Sunday. So let's wrap this show up right here and call it a night here. Thanks for doing this, guys. Obviously, we know the next game for the Raptors, the Miami Heat come to town with the GOAT, Kyle Lowry. That tip-off is at 7 p.m. You can catch that game on Sportsnet. Don't miss it. It's going to be a pretty exciting game. For Jack Armstrong, Paul Jones, and Amy Audibert, who jumped out early, and for our producer, Jake LaRue, we want to say thanks for watching us here on Nightcap. We'll catch you next time.